Like I said, my name is Alan and I'm an addict. And I haven't found it necessary to take an alcoholic drink or mind-altering substance since the 3rd of the 3rd, 2003.
Go on.
So what that means is, as long as I don't do anything monumentally stupid, 1, 2, 3, in the next 4 hours, I'll get to 14 years. Now, 14 years for me is a huge thing. But I need to go back to that as long as I don't do anything monumentally stupid. Now, the people close to me and the people who were with me in my home group just a couple of weeks ago will know that there's a real possibility that I can. And that at just coming up to 14 years clean and sober, I still have the ability to behave appallingly. I still have the ability to behave shamefully. So the fact that I haven't used or drank for this amount of time bears absolutely no reflection on my current spiritual condition. And what I've learned as time's gone on in Cocaine Anonymous is my current spiritual condition is what really matters. The years are great, and when I get to tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up with a great big smile on my face, full of gratitude for all of the things that the years have given me and that recovery's given me in the time in recovery. But they're not what really matters. What really matters is how I am, how I am internally, how I am spiritually. See, I come into this, I'd been a phenomenally unsuccessful alcoholic and drug addict for many years. I was your kind of pant-pissing, cider-drinking drunk. I was the guy who was opening the bags of gear, smelling it was oxtail soup, praying it wasn't, and still injecting it knowing it truly was. I was the kind of addict who would wake up, walk 14 miles, go shoplifting, I've said it 1,000 times, walk into the supermarket, 7.5 stone, soaking wet, come out 14.5 stone, with bacon and cheese secreted in places God never intended bacon and cheese to be. Selling it, getting a 10 bag, doing that. Doing it again, coming out with batteries or razor blades secreted in places those things should never be. Doing that, walking home, saving a spoon wash for the next day. Getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, doing the spoon wash. Going back to bed, getting up the next day rattling and doing it again and again and again. When I got here, you guys told me about cocaine and champagne. I have no experience of either. I've said it before, people told me they'd sold me cocaine. I'd certainly thought I'd bought it. But when I got here and you guys told me what it was really like, I realised that there are some drug dealers out there who are less than honest. It's true. Shocking, but it's true. Never drank champagne. Thunderbird. That was as good as it got for me. So as a consequence of kind of years of trying to fix a problem I didn't know I had, I started going in and out of jails, and eventually it got to the point the sentences got longer and longer, and they'd said to me, Dobbo, listen, if you get involved in some sort of treatment program when you're in jail, there's a chance you'll get parole. And that's why I come here. That's why I started going to meetings when I was in prison. That's why I started reading the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, so that I could talk a good game, so that when it come to parole, they could say, he's really engaged well in the services here. He's really moved forward. You know, I went through this program in jail and they gave me a little badge. They called me a peer supporter, and my ego went, yeah, go on, kid. They let me kind of do some stuff around step work and talk a bit about the history of the 12 steps, and my ego went, yeah, pretty good, Dobbo. You're all right. And then they let me out and I went, yeah. And I went into a treatment asylum in Bournemouth, which introduced me to you guys out here. And when I was first coming to the meetings, it was just as a means to an end. It wasn't to have any sort of spiritual experience, any sort of spiritual awakening, any sort of spiritual anything. It was to get out of jail and I'd stay clean for a little while and you know, certainly not not forever. When you guys talked about total abstinence, it didn't mean that much to me. I wasn't that bothered about it because that wasn't my long-term plan. What happened is I didn't see this coming. I didn't see you lot coming. This. So I'm doing my best not to swear, but I'll give myself one golden point. This spiritual trickery, which is actually spiritual fuckery, that you lot performed on me, is what kept me here. So I'm forever thankful that people didn't say keep coming back. They just said, look, just stay here. People didn't turn from me and say, we got no place for you. You said, stay here and we'll give you something to do. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt like I was somewhere I should be. And I stayed. And I've stayed consistently for almost 14 years. My journey through that has been... So it's my home group, I love it here, and we have a conscience in my home group that at the beginning of every month, whoever does a share at the beginning of every month will talk about the step that corresponds to that month. So tonight I'm going to try and talk about a little bit about the third step, about this process of handing over my will and my life to the God that I have been introduced to and I have come to know in the Fellowship of Cocaine Anonymous. When I first got here, I thought that was kind of a one deal thing. So I'd go through the process. The miserable git who first sponsored me, love him as I do, the most miserable bugger I've ever come across in my life, went through this prayer that was in the big book, and we got on our knees, and I thought it was a bit gay, but I did it anyway, and kind of, yep, I'll do this, and just went through the process, and I thought that would be it. I had absolutely no idea that this process of handing over the things I want to do to a power outside me was going to be an ongoing thing. Just an ongoing thing. Not even an ongoing thing for the rest of my life, for the rest of my recovery, or the rest of the day, just an ongoing thing it was going to be. I mention it. So what has happened as a result of sticking around in these meetings for a while is, as time's gone on, I've had less and less new things to say. The fundamentals of this program and what I needed to learn for this to be practical and to work in my life are so simplistic that after a while it just becomes repetitive. It's just different ways to say the same kind of things. But I often mention a guy called Mark Houston, who was an old AA boy who did some cool stuff and told some good stories. But he talked about the need to stay awake from a spiritual point of view, to be awake to what's going on. And he talked about how, as time goes on, as the years click by, it's very, very easy to fall asleep spiritually, but then to start dreaming you're still awake. So you can talk a good game. You can talk about what's in the big book. You can pull a few lines out. You can kind of, yeah, I'm constitutionally incapable. I get it. Yeah, powerless. Yeah, I get it. And these kind of one-liners and the strap lines from the program, you can kind of get a couple of commitments and kind of look like you know what you're doing. Read a couple of service manuals, get a few people dumb enough or sick enough to let you sponsor them, start working with some of them lunatics. Thank you, Lewis. Just hit a home group, hit a few meetings, and from the outside, it can look like everything's all right. And people will buy into it. And people will just assume you're all right because you look like you're all right. And people will start feeding it and telling you're all right. Yeah, I loved that share you did. That was great. Oh, I loved what you said about that. That was great. Oh, you do great service. That's great. And what this guy talked about and what really struck a chord with me is that from a spiritual point of view, you can start to fall asleep and you believe your own press. You believe what other people are saying. Because on the outside it looks all right. And inside, you're dying. Inside, spiritually, you're falling apart. When we give out key rings for newcomers, you'll often hear people say the most important person in the room is the newcomer. If you're a newcomer in this room, you need to know I love you dearly, but I do not believe for a second you're the most important person in this room. I don't believe for a second there's anyone in this room who's more important than the person sat next to them. See, I've seen this happen. People get time, get a few years, get to 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and people go, they're all right. They must be all right. They've got a few years. They've got to be fine. They're all right. And they're dying in the corner. And we're going, oh, what about the newcomer? What about the newcomer? And the old timer's dying in the corner. I really, really believe that we need to look after each other. I really, really believe that none of us are any higher or any lower than any of the rest of us. This illness, this disease, as it was explained to me when I worked with my sponsor, he talked about this threefold disease, and he took me into the big book and he showed me where it was. This disease, I believe, and I have seen, can rip us apart wherever we are. So I you know, I really feel we need to look after each other. I really feel we're equal. And my experience is that my spiritual well-being, as soon as it starts to fall, as soon as it starts to falter, as soon as it just becomes habitual, I'll still say the prayers, I'll still sponsor the lunatics, I'll still do the service, but I'm just doing it, just plodding along. Then the cracks start to show. Then my behaviour starts to go off key. Then I start to be tempted to be dishonest, or I end up being dishonest, or snapping at people, or screaming at people, or shouting at strangers, or whatever it is. Or, I've told this story before, and a lot of people in here don't know it, but I remember one day I'm on a bus, I'm coming through Boscombe, and the bus, and I want it to stop at the Crescent. And I press the button, and he doesn't stop at the Crescent. Get that? He doesn't stop at the Crescent, and I press the button. And I know he heard it because I heard it. He didn't stop at the Crescent. And I've got Michelle, my missus, with me, and we're new. We're kind of early on, so I need to man up. And he finally stops round the corner by what is now Lidl's. Lidl's wasn't there then, or Aldi, whichever it is, round the corner by McDonald's. And as I'm getting off, I like stop and I go, "You bloody playing at? I pushed the button. Why didn't you stop? Why didn't you stop?" And he went, "Look, just get off the bus." Now, a normal person with any level of spiritual anything would go, "All right, and get off the bus." Or they might go, "Dickhead," and get off the bus. What I do is I get off the bus, I walk round in front of the bus, and I lie in the middle of the road. And I exaggerate not, it was almost 15 minutes before I moved. And my missus, Michelle, and we're fairly new on then, at one point she's just going, "What? Like speechless. What are you doing, you knob?" He wouldn't start the bus. Wouldn't start the bus. He just wouldn't start the bus. Just lunacy. That behaviour hasn't gone away. If I'm not looking after myself spiritually, that comes back at the drop of a hat. And I've got friends in this room who know me well and who have seen that and would testify to that fact all day long. See, I'm not going to leave this room necessarily unused now. But I have the potential to repeatedly do ridiculously stupid things that will eventually put me in a position where I've got no other choice and I have to. So what CA's given me is it's given me the ability to see that. It's given me the ability to wake up. It's given me an inventory process and an accountability process and a circle of friends that if this stuff starts happening, trust me when I tell you, they rally round. They're there for me. And they're there for me to go, knob, and be honest with me, but also to like, what's going on? Come on, what's going on? And that's never possible without the continuing consideration and working of the third step of this. Here's my will, here's my life. I'm going to hand it over to you, whatever you are. Whether it's through prayer to the God that I've come to understand, whether it's through conversation with my friends and the people that I trust, whether it's through inventory, and I'll hand it over and I'll get a little bit from it and then I'll take it back. And then I'll act like a dick for a while. And I'll hand it over and I'll get into it a little bit and I'll take it back. And it's been like that. It's been like that all the way through my recovery. If anybody's thinking that it's going to be, you're going to do this and it's just going to be plain sailing, that's not my experience. It's been, the whole experience has been a roller coaster. Bill Wilson, one of the founders of AA, wrote an excellent essay once on emotional sobriety. And he said that if you think emotional sobriety as a human being is just constant calmness, you're an idiot. He didn't say you're an idiot. He said you're very much mistaken. But if you think that, you're an idiot, in my experience. By the very nature of what we are and as people. Because, people are going, it's me addict and all that. We're people. By the very nature of being people, there'll be ups and downs. There'll be emotional roller coasters. There'll be sadness. There'll be joy. There'll be anger. There'll be all of that stuff. And what this handing over process and this working and reworking of the steps has given me the ability to do is embrace that. And it to be all right. And to be able to look at that and to be able to grow through that. This time last year, I was giggling to myself. I was coming in and our brothers in arms over there were trying to get up the stairs with their crutches. And a year ago, I was sat in a wheelchair. This time last year, I couldn't even have crawled up the stairs. I was wheeled here. I was humped into the chair. I was up the stair lift with people strolling past me going, all right. And then I was put in a chair and I was wheeled here. I was given drugs and substances that there was a time in my life I would have craved for. I would have sold my soul and did for. And I was protected in that. And I was looked after in that. And the people around me took care of me. And I got through that. And I got up on my feet. And as God's my witness, I keep saying it, it makes my missus shudder. I will dance again. Anyone who's seen me dance it'll be a sad day. I'll do it. I came here under the pretense of getting clean and sober with a story that's what I wanted when I didn't even want that anyway. I wanted to get parole and get out and ultimately use again. The love, the compassion, the patience that the people in this room and in many, many, many rooms like this have showed me then and day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out for all these years has made this, without a doubt, the greatest place on the planet for me. Of course, fundamentally it's about not drinking and not using again. Of course, it's fundamentally about not going out and causing the damage that I was causing and hurting the people that I love and care about again. But if anybody thinks that's it, stay and see what happens. My experience is it will absolutely blow your mind. There's so much more on offer here. Nobody in this room has to drink or use again. Nobody in this room has to be alone again. It's quite a thing. So, about 3.5 hours, as long as I don't do anything monumentally stupid, there's a considerable chance that I'm going to make another sobriety birthday. If I was on my own, there'd be no chance at all. Every time I've edged away, and I haven't got to edge away very far. I'm not one of these guys who has to stop doing meeting, service, sponsorship, inventory, praying for a couple of weeks for this to start to have a negative effect. On a good day, I've got a couple of hours and I start to go a few degrees out of plumb. Give me a couple of days and I'm in trouble. Every time I've started to move away, I've been blessed enough to have been woken up to the fact of what's going on and just got back close. I do the same stuff now as I did in my first year. I sponsor as many people as will put up with me. I turn up for my home group pretty much every week, as long as they put up with me. I serve Cocaine Anonymous as much as I can in as many committees as will put up with me. I have a great life. I have a lovely wife. I have a great son. I have a job, and the responsibility they give me and what I do in my job is just insane, considering where I come from. I have friends in my life who I can be sat in their house and they'll leave a wallet on the side with actual money in it, and no, I'm not going to nick it. I mean, and leave me in their kitchen and go in another room, and no, I'm not going to just open that window just a little bit for later on. All of this I have as a result of Cocaine Anonymous. As the working and reworking of the steps in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, with a sponsor who isn't quite as miserable as the first one, but he has his moments. It's the greatest thing in the world. If anybody tells you to keep coming back, take my advice, tell them to piss off. Stay. Just stay with us here. Because we and I need everyone here. Thanks for listening.